Hello YouTube, Triumph Guy here today, and I'm going to be talking about what sort of documents you need to check to buy a car and to stop you from getting scammed. And I'm going to try and do it in a systematic order so you can get some of these checks done before you even get to the car. So let's get to it. So before I've even left the house to look at anything, I'm actually just going to run a couple of basic checks on the MOT history. And what I'm trying to get from this is a vague understanding if the car is being looked after or not. Then I'm going to ask them for their address. And I'm going to write that down. I'm going to keep that safe. So when I do get there and check the V5, I'm going to make sure that it matches up with the owner on there. I'm also going to get them to send over any servicing history if they can, and this will give me a good idea of how the car is looking before I've even left the house. Now, if you're going for a dealership, this should be fairly easy, but you would be surprised. Sometimes they don't have them all the servicing in place ready to go. The V5 document, obviously it needs to have the watermark of DVLA in there, and another thing to be careful of, I was the second owner of a early 2000s Audi, and actually, believe it or not, the serial number for the document was 1 digit short, just because that's how they were, so it was quite hard to tax the vehicle. Also, DVLA website is only open 7 till 7, so sometimes it might be better to buy the car during the day or view it at a certain point and then go purchase it during the day, see if you can actually tax it with that V5. Make sure that, like I said before, their address lines up with the address on there and there's nothing sus. Just please be careful on this. And if you're unsure, then phone up the DVLA and ask to make sure it's legitimate. Also check that the VIN number on the car, which there's plenty of pictures on the internet where that will be. You know, it's even the windscreen or it could be inside the door, matches up with what's on that document. The MOT history is a difficult one. I find a lot of people who aren't very experienced with cars get really stuck up with this and really caught up. But all you're really looking for is to make sure there's nothing major has been ignored for a long period of time, or a long list of, what you don't want again is a long list of advisories and loads of other stuff, and then the next recent MOT it's completely blank, because maybe it's probably had a dodgy one if the year before was full of, you know, stuff. So be careful on that. You're also looking for gaps, and you know, I have sold a car with an MOT gap, but it's because I was working abroad for a couple of years, so there was a gap, and I could explain that and evidence that. So just make sure that whoever you're buying it off, they've got a reason why if there is a gap on the MOT. You don't want to be buying a car which is an MOT failure unless you know what you're doing, essentially. So if you need to take someone to have a look round, I have got a video on this. I'll put that in the comments of what to look round. Service history can be a bit of a nightmare and a bit of a minefield. People lose it. People don't think it's important. So sometimes you may have to roll the dice on this. Obviously, a car with full service history will be worth more. And what you're looking for is that all the service intervals are being ticked. More importantly, you're not buying a ticking time bomb. So cam belts due to be changed. Remember, these aren't just mileage restraints, i.e. 70,000 miles, 100,000 miles. They could be years as well. So it could be 10 years or 7 years. So you need to make sure that that's well within, because you don't want to buy something that's going to need expensive repairs or servicing. What I like to do, as long as the last 5 years of the servicing records are up to date, then I'm pretty happy. Or if it's high mileage and it's only had a few owners, then I know that they've probably done a pretty good job to get the car to that mileage, so it's probably been looked after. You should get a general feel of a car as well, to make sure the servicing has been done. But remember, on new cars, it's all stored online, and when I had my CLS, it was an absolute nightmare for them to dig up the old servicing from Merck. So all the documents are in order and you're ready to go ahead, but you buy a car and then you realise it's just been stolen or it's got outstanding finance. And essentially what will happen is you'll lose the car to the bank or the financing company. So you need to do a HPI check. These aren't really free online. Normally they're a couple of quid for a check. And it's definitely worth doing, especially if you're serious on a car. What I would suggest is do all the other steps first, make sure it's legit, then run the HPI check once you've done the documents check and the physical check, because there's no point in rolling the dice on 10, 20 different cars and spending £5 a piece. So just be careful on that. Another thing you need to be careful of is if it's a Cat N, Cat S, or it's a category write-off from the insurance company. Legally, they don't have to advertise this, but they do have to tell you if you ask them. So ask the question. They could be breaching the law if they fail to tell you the truth. But this should come up on the HPI check. This will basically increase insurance premiums or decrease resale price. Next thing you need to make sure is when you're buying a car that it's either advertised as sawn and it's sawn, or it was taxed up until the date you have purchased it. Again, sometimes it can get a bit funny and you have to sometimes settle the tax before you bought it. Hopefully not. I have seen a lot of the time that doesn't happen, but you just never know. And also remember that vehicle tax in the UK is no longer transferable, so you need to tax that car before you drive it. And as I've said before, the DVLA website has weird opening times. I know it's strange, a website has opening times, so please purchase the car within them hours, and it only takes about half an hour to tax it before you set off on your journey. And you can do that with the new Keeper's green slip. It's really easy. Like I said, it takes 20 minutes. To recap, before you go down there, check the MOT history. If you can get the service history before you even leave the house, or pictures of it, then that's great. That would just save your journey. If you're serious about the car, obviously conduct a HPI check, especially if you're from a private seller. And also, you're going to be needing to check the V5 documents. VIN number matches the one on the car. Once you've done all them checks and you've checked that it's not an insurance write-off, you should be fairly safe to purchase the car. And like I said before, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments section or reach out to me on my Facebook page, The Triumph Guy. Another thing is, if you're buying a car and you want to look at the physical checks, then I'm going to put that video in the comments and the description so you can view it. But yeah, like I said, thanks very much for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe and drive sensibly, and I'll see you on the next one.